This week, Sandman turns 30, Shazam, and was Thanos right? I don't know, I just watched the movie. We're gonna find out anyway. It's Previews World Weekly, and it's gonna happen right now. What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday, it's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I am one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Fia, and we're here every week to remind you guys to stop at a comic shop and get involved in the world of comics.
And we're also here to talk a little bit about the Captain Marvel trailer, which debuted on Monday.
Yes.
Just kind of out of nowhere. I kind of feel like Marvel was, there was a lot of leaks the week before. I kind of feel like Marvel was kind of like, screw you guys.
Yeah. We give up, here you go.
Right, exactly. We're going to drop it when we want to.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. I mean, I'll be honest, I thought it was all right, yeah.
It looks like fun.
Yeah.
It looks pretty.
No, it does. It looks pretty. Like, yeah, it's got that Marvel stamp of quality to it,
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not going to go see it, because I will.
Yeah, obviously.
Especially since it's a key component to the next Infinity War movie. I saw a few people saying that, like, Brie Larson looks a little bored.
Right.
But you were saying earlier, like, I think that's story.
It's got to be part of the story. Like, the fact that who she is in question.
Right.
So I think that her being a little more stoic is probably going to be part of the character development.
Right. Well, I mean, the trailer seems to be really hinging on her, like, finding her humanity.
Exactly.
Right. You know. So I mean, like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious. We'll see what happens. Didn't blow wind up my skirt, but but
beautiful.
But that's quite an image. But at the same time, it was like, I'm gonna see it. Whatever.
It's happening.
If you want to learn more about Carol Danvers and Captain Marvel, of course, you can go to your local comic shop. And speaking of local comic shops, we're always talking about local comic shops, but speaking of local comic shops, Anna Mia's here, and she's going to show us what's out this week on the new release list.
Hey Previews World, Mia here with a look at what's at comic shops this week. So let's jump on in. Is that it? No way. Your local comic shop has something for every type of customer. So stop at a comic shop today, and I'll see you back here next week.
Thank you, Anna Mia. Always here to give us a rundown of everything that's out this week, or some of the featured items available this week. A lot of number ones.
Absolutely a lot of number ones.
Yeah, with like really cool jumping on points. Like, is there anything in particular that you're interested in?
Die number one for me.
Yeah.
Looks like a really cool book. It's been described as Goth Jumanji by the writer,
I love that.
Kieran Gillen. And the artist is Stephanie Hans. It looks beautiful. It looks really cool. And it's supposed to be super dark.
Yeah.
I'm getting kind of a like more adult Stranger Things thing out of it, perhaps, you know?
Yeah.
And it's definitely a mature reader's kind of book, but
No, for sure.
yeah.
Kieran Gillen. Big fan of him. Like I remember he used to do some of the X-Men stuff back in the day. So yeah, he's got a dark sense of humor. So you're dead on about that. That's for sure. I had a chance to read Prodigy. Like, we got an advanced copy of it last week.
Cool.
And I loved it.
Cool.
Like, it is like the coolest, like 22 pages. It's Mark Miller and it's Raphael Albuquerque. This is part of that Miller Netflix merger.
Right.
That no one can quite explain what it is, but it seems to be really,
a thing.
it's producing really cool things, so, we're all for it. It's just, if I can just say, it's just badass guy being badass. And sometimes that's good enough. I'm totally happy with that.
Sometimes that's all you want.
He's the smartest man in the world. It's kind of like Limitless meets Kingsman, I'll probably say, or 007.
Nice.
So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Was there anything else that I know there has to be something else you were looking forward to.
Of course, yeah. It's another number one. It's called Wizard Beach. It's from Boom Studios, and it just looks like a lot of fun. It's about this young up-and-coming wizard. His name is Hexley Daggered Ragbottom, which is like, this is super Discworld vibes for me, these great names and the whole like goofy wizard thing going on. But he's out to find his uncle, who's supposed to be the most powerful wizard of the age, to learn from him, and finds him on a beach chilling out like, I want nothing to do with any of that anymore. And he's like, what do I do now? I want to be this great wizard. And all these folks are just like, beach bums.
Beach bums, right. I mean, I guess wizards can always be in like citadels or something like that,
true.
right?
True, you gotta let them have some chill time.
Some chill time. I'm also looking forward to Killmonger, #1, which is out this week. That's Brian Edward Hill, who's has a really strong track record. Just a good storyteller, just strong storytelling style. Very curious because, this is kind of like sympathy for the devil, right?
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the angle you're playing here.
For sure.
I mean, Killmonger was like a huge breakout character for that Black Panther movie. Yes. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they play off of like making him evil and sympathetic at the same time. Seems to be like they're kind of like towing that line between the comic book history and the movie history.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm really into that.
That's such a thing right now is sympathy for the villain.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, absolutely. That's kind of like the tone that everybody's going for. He's a complex character, and I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Also out this week, Grumble #1, which is from Rafer Roberts. It's coming from Albatross Comics. It actually looks really cool. Rafer did Archer and Armstrong, so it's kind of like a dark comedy. Like if you're familiar with any of his stuff at all, basically it's about this hustler who's basically always hustling in the world of magic. He gets turned into a pug, which is kind of like his punishment.
Good.
And so him and his daughter are now on the run from these wizards and hitmen, and it's a cool little mini series. It just looks like a lot of fun. I'm all for that. Also, Shazam is out this week.
Yeah.
And that's another book that if you're into the upcoming movie, this is a book that's going to be playing with I guess some of the comic book lore and the movie lore and kind of merging them together a little bit. It's Jeff Johns, so you can trust him, and everybody loves everything Jeff Johns does, and Dale Eaglesham. Eaglesham is he's the perfect artist for this book because he knows how to draw chiseled jaw superheroes and
super classic.
Yeah, very classic, very iconic, and perfect for a Captain Marvel or Shazam book, depending on what you how you want to call it. So definitely check that out this week, and a bunch of other #1s this week. And now we're going to start looking at some of the news and some of the things people have been talking about in the last 7 days. So let's check it out.
Let's take a look at some of the things we've been talking about over on the PREVIEWSworld website. First up, a bit of sad news. Steven Hillenburg, the creator of the iconic SpongeBob SquarePants television series and the SpongeBob comics, died Tuesday due to complications from ALS. In 1984, Hillenburg wrote an informative comic book about tide pool animals called The Intertidal Zone. He used this book to educate students while teaching marine biology at Orange County Marine Institute. I thought that was a pretty interesting start to his career.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he began his professional animation career in '93 as a director on Nickelodeon's Rocko's Modern Life. Definitely a personal favorite. And he began developing SpongeBob in 1994, with the show debuting 5 years later. The show has since become Nickelodeon's longest-running series of all time, with episodes still currently being produced. And he's made many a childhood and been the source material for countless memes, and he will never be forgotten. Next up, Image Comics is pleased to announce that the long-running cult favorite series Mage by Matt Wagner will feature a special breathtaking 8-page gatefold in the finale issue of the series, Mage, the Hero Denied, #15. This highly collectible issue will bring the series to a stunning conclusion after 35 years of adventure. First premiering as part of the indie comics boom in the 80s, Mage tells the story of the classic hero's journey through the lens of a contemporary setting and as an allegorical autobiography of Wagner himself. Mage has been an utterly unique and rewarding experience for me, said Wagner. I'd like to thank both my new and longtime readers, especially those dedicated fans who have stuck with Mage through the long gaps between the various books of the trilogy. Your continued interest and passion for the story have always served to inspire me. And I'd also like to thank the entire Image Comics crew in their unfailing support and enthusiasm for seeing this project through to completion. Mage, the Hero Denied #15 will be available on February 27th, so keep an eye out for that. Next up, Sci-Fi.com revealed that a new series based on Season 3 of the hit TV show Riverdale is coming to comic book shops next year. Each issue of Riverdale Season 3 will feature 2 original stories courtesy of the creative team of writer Nicole Ostow, artists Thomas Patilli and Joe Eisma, colorist Andrei Zemanowicz, and letterers Janice Chiang and John Workman. Take a deeper dive into some of the skeletons buried in and around Riverdale, as well as hidden and unexpected connections to the farm and the game. Everyone is hiding something in this companion to the 3rd season of the massive hit CW series, Riverdale. Riverdale Season 3, Number 1 will go on sale March 13th, 2019. Last but not least, to honor the life and career of Stan Lee, many Marvel titles on sale December 19th through January 9th will arrive with trade dress that pays tribute to the man and his legacy. The trade dress will appear on main and variant covers. There are 28 titles arriving that will receive the trade dress, and please note that variants will receive the trade dress on a case-by-case basis. To find the full list of titles, head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com.
Cool. Yeah. No, good deal. A lot of
closers.
Yeah, a lot of closers. Yeah, I was like, what's an artful way of putting that?
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. A lot of closers.
Yeah.
So we're gonna now take it over to Natasha, and she's gonna show us some of the toys out this week. So check this out. There's a real Ghostbusters pack from Diamond Select Toys. It's giving me all sorts of nostalgia. So
Feels.
here you go, Natasha. Take it away.
Hey Previews World, Natasha here to give you a look inside the previous toy chest. Let's find out what's at comic shops this week. And that's not all. Be sure to check with your local comic shop for availability, and I'll see you here next week.
Thanks, Natasha. If you want to check out the full list of collectibles and figures out this week, you can head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases, and we have one of the figures right here in the studio.
Yeah, it's RoboCop.
Yes.
I love this. There's 2 big nostalgia pulls this week, and I'm kind of like, for the Ghostbusters and this, I'm kind of like,
Super old school.
I might add this to my collection.
Right.
This is the Mafex RoboCop. It's actually one of the lines that we actually feature a lot in our catalog every month. And this is from Medicom Toys. And I love this because it's it's Peter Weller.
Yeah.
It's actually RoboCop, which is pretty awesome. The non-visor face is a little weird, but
Bit worrisome. No eyes, just nose and mouth.
nose and mouth. But I mean, that's part of assembling it, I guess. Actually reminds me, I swore to God when I was a kid that RoboCop was a horror movie because I saw it way too long, way too young, I should say.
Yeah.
I probably saw it when I was 6 or 7, and it's a bloody affair. But
Yeah.
if you're like me and you're a child of the '80s, you will definitely want this. So how
It's a
can
beautiful
we-
figure.
Yeah, it is actually.
It's gorgeous. I mean, the paint job is gorgeous, and it has these really cool sort of trippy highlights.
Yeah,
going on. I thought,
right.
am I seeing those for real or what? But
Yeah.
it's very well made.
It's very well made. And
Yeah.
that's the sign of quality that they do with these Mafex toys.
for
They're
sure.
just great. How can they win this?
Yes.
Who's lucky enough?
It's very true. Once again, giveaway. You guys can win this sweet RoboCop. He is gorgeous. I highly recommend getting in on this one. We want you guys to let us know which famous comic book writer also wrote one of the RoboCop movies. Comment on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching. We'll take entrance until noon on Friday, and you could win him.
Yeah, and I mean, you can easily Wikipedia that question, that
Yeah.
answer. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not a big
We don't
deal.
expect you to remember.
Right. Although, I'm sure
If you know.
any RoboCop nerd worth their salt will probably already know that. So, just saying. Definitely participate and definitely get a chance to win. And now we're going to talk a little bit about, Jim Lee specifically is going to talk about the 30th anniversary of Sandman. So last week, Neil Gaiman put out a post mentioning that it was indeed the 30th anniversary on the day last Thursday. And it's the 30th anniversary of issue number 1 of Sandman by him, Dave McKean, Sam Keith, and
My favorites.
Right, yeah, exactly, right. So here's a little tribute to the series, and if you're not familiar with the series, DC's own Jim Lee is going to give you a rundown of just exactly what the series is about and what makes it so special. So check this out.
Hi, I'm Jim Lee, co-publisher at DC Entertainment. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the legacy of Neil Gaiman's The Sandman by looking back at how the series changed the comic book industry forever. In December of 1988, DC Comics released the first issue of The Sandman. Neil Gaiman's spellbinding story of the Lord of Dreams would captivate readers worldwide as it unfolded over the next 8 years. The saga begins in 1916, when a group of occultists attempt to conjure and trap Death. They are disappointed, however, when they capture what appears to be a tall, thin, pale-skinned man instead. Not Death, but Dream, sometimes known as Morpheus, the being who rules over the dreams of all things. The first story arc, illustrated by artists Sam Keith and Mike Dringenberg, told the story of how Dream regained his power by retrieving his totems, a bag of sand, a ruby, and a bone and glass helm. The growing readership was shocked and delighted by a journey that took them into gothic visions of hell, the darkness of drug addiction, and an unforgettable issue set in a 24-hour diner from which its patrons could not escape. The first Sandman signing took place in December of 1988 at Jim Hanley's Universe on Staten Island. Only a dozen people showed up. Neil expanded the Sandman's world in an ever more complex tapestry by blending literature, myth and legend in new ways and introducing memorable characters like the Corinthian, Fiddler's Green, and Lucian the Librarian, steward to the Dreaming's library of unwritten books. By the end of the first arc, Preludes and Nocturnes, we learn that Morpheus is one of the 7 siblings known as the Endless, each an anthropomorphic representation of an aspect of existence. It would take another 3 years until we encounter them all. Destiny, Death, Dream, the twins, Desire and Despair, the Missing Destruction, and the youngest, the Strange Delirium. The Sandman issue number 19, A Midsummer Night's Dream, illustrated by Charles Vess, made history when it won the World Fantasy Award for Best Short Story 1991, making it the first comic book to ever win an award for prose fiction. The following year, Neil did another signing tour for The Sandman, this time for Volume 4, Season of Mists, which chronicles Dream's odyssey as the ruler of hell after Lucifer quits. At one stop alone, the signing drew over 1,000 readers. And something new was happening for comic stores at the time. About half of the people reading Sandman were women. Initially, The Sandman was published under the DC Comics imprint, but its mature content was a far cry from Superman, Batman, and the Teen Titans. The popularity of The Sandman, as well as the other mature titles in the DC library, overseen and edited by Karen Berger, needed a place where experimentation and complex themes were the rule instead of the exception. As a result, the Vertigo imprint launched with a host of new, reimagined DC characters, a few creator-owned series, and the release of The Sandman number 47 in January of 1993. That same year, Neil expanded the Sandman mythos by writing the first spin-off miniseries, Death, the High Cost of Living, with art by Chris Bachalo and Mark Buckingham. A second miniseries, called Death, the Time of Your Life, was released 3 years later by the same art team. But nothing lasts forever, not even the most critically acclaimed comic of its time. Sales continued to rise, but Neil had always been clear that this was a story that would have a definitive end. The penultimate storyline of the series, The Kindly Ones, marked the beginning of the end for the Dream King, culminating with Morpheus' funeral in the 10th volume of the series, titled The Wake. This marked the final issue of the series, The Sandman number 75. In addition to Neil's remarkable story, each volume of The Sandman features a changing roster of world-class artists, including P. Craig Russell, Kelly Jones, Charles Vess, Malcolm Jones III, Brian Talbot, Jill Thompson, Mark Hempel, and Michael Zulli, to name just a few. This was a deliberate creative decision made to help each story feel unique through the changing art styles. But one artist remained consistent from the first issue to the last, cover artist Dave McKean. Dave's innovative cover designs combine paint, photography, and typography into a physical collage unlike anything in the industry, and continually reinvented the look of Sandman, redefining what could be allowed on a comic book cover at the time. While the grand saga of Morpheus that had begun in Sandman 1 and finished in Sandman 75 was done, the story of Dream was not over. Neil still had many stories to tell, including the prose novella, The Dream Hunters, illustrated by legendary Japanese artist Yoshitaka Amano in 1999, and released as a comic book adaptation by P. Craig Russell in 2007. And Endless Nights in 2003, which featured a cavalcade of international superstar artists, with each story focusing on one of the 7 members of the Endless. In 2013, celebrating Sandman's 25th year, the Sandman Overture brought another artist to Morpheus' world, J.H. Williams III, as well as Neil's return to the universe he helped create. The bar for Sandman was raised even higher with a truly mind-blowing cast of characters. It's a story in which Morpheus literally holds the fate of the universe in his hands, and we learn that sometimes an ending is just another beginning, as the events from Sandman Overture act not just as a prequel, but they lead us directly into the first volume of the original series. The Sandman Overture sheds new light on the entire canon, allowing the seeds Neil planted 25 years ago to flourish today.
And a happy belated to Mike Dringenberg and Sam Keith and Dave McKean, and of course Neil Gaiman for Sandman #1. Yeah, it's you know, this is a formative book for a lot of people. Like, you know, it's formative for the industry, formative for creators, formative for fans. Just a demarcation line where things really shifted for comics in general. So, and of course the story continues in Sandman Universe, which is out right now, which is also part of that 30-year anniversary. So definitely check it out at your local comic shop. And now we're going to do a little social swamp action, and you guys chimed in. We didn't set out to do this one this week. It just kind of happened, I won't say organically, but it kind of happened next to Free Comic Book Day, so I'm going to let Thea explain. We're going to check it out. Here's the social swamp for this week.
So, over on the Free Comic Book Day Facebook, we asked you guys if you thought that Thanos was right for erasing half the universe. And we got some pretty great responses, right?
Did.
We have Jose Salas, who said that he should have made resources infinite. Pretty reasonable.
Right, that's fair, yeah.
John Hunt, no man, killing people because you're bad at math is not right.
That's also fair.
Sid Nimoy, no one could ever be right for passing judgment before a crime is committed. The freedom of choice will always yield unforeseen possibilities. No prediction holds power over freedom.
All right, look at Minority Report over here.
Yeah, like super serious, but also
valid points.
Very valid point.
Yeah.
Aaron Orenstein says he wasn't right. He's been raised thinking the universe was this cold and unfeeling thing, when he should have been brought up understanding that the universe, all of existence really, is governed by nuance.
Yeah. That's actually, I like that. That's a really
Black
good one.
and white ain't a thing.
No.
It's all stuff there and
Points in
together.
between.
Like, yeah. Rick Watson said no because half off is basically buy one get one free.
That was actually my favorite.
That's pretty good.
The most nonsense one, but definitely my favorite.
We have a couple more. Jonathan Ross Buckham said that our opinion of such matters is inconsequential to Thanos. Just saying.
Also fair.
And finally, this one's my personal favorite. Matthew Kaplowitz said he was right because, specifically in the voice of Janos Poa from Ghostbusters 2, he is Thanos, and we are like the buzzing of flies to him.
All accurate. I love that. You know, it's amusing because you know, I used to work in a comic shop, and like it's amusing because you get to see some of these conversations play out on social media feeds sometimes, and it's always like, you know, this is what I love about comics. Yeah. Because we all think about it way too much.
Yes, this is very true.
Right. We were actually going to do a second social swamp bit, which was going to be about Daredevil. Speaking of the snap, right, and purging.
Right.
We were going to talk about Netflix being Netflix pulling Daredevil this past weekend. Yeah. But some of your responses are super salty.
Like, y'all have some opinions.
Yeah, you can't, you know, it's like we sent out the call to action and we're like, hey guys, like we're going to put this on the show, but not if you're going to use a bunch of expletives and call Disney and Netflix names. Like,
come on, kids.
Yeah, I understand you're upset. I get it, but it's okay.
Keep the nerd rage to yourself next time.
Yeah, you mentioned nuance earlier. Nuance earlier.
Yeah.
Nuance wins. So, you know, nuance is very important.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's sad to see Daredevil go and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're surmising that Disney isn't going to be renewing them in any capacity.
Right.
It's sad. Because they're good shows. It's good characters and we'll miss them.
Yeah, it's a safe bet. Like, I mean, it's a safe bet that like Disney's probably going to go in their own direction with it. So, which is kind of too bad, but
also makes sense.
Also makes sense.
That's what happens.
Yeah. Things end. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Just like our show's about to end. Yep. So there you go. Every week we ask you guys to do a comic shop shout out. And last week you just blew up like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Like we have plenty to choose from.
Thank you.
So just because we're not going to select you this week doesn't mean that we're not going to select you next week. So just keep letting us know. Show love to your comic shop. Support your LCS.
We want to know.
But this week is actually coming from our buddy Joseph Bularo, who I hope I'm saying it. I'm sorry, Joseph, I didn't say it right. I apologize. But he wanted to give a shout out to Homewood, Illinois' Zone Comics. And so now we're going to show you some images from Zone Comics. So some images from the Free Comic Book Day, just days at the store.
Yeah.
Like a day in the life of Zone Comics in Illinois. So thank you very much for that, Joseph. This is Previews World Weekly. I am one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Fia, and we'll see you at the spinner rack.
Thanks for watching Previews World Weekly. If you like the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes.